So you want to add more games to your MyArcade Gamestation Go, do you? You're that bored already? Okay. Greetings, Retro Zoltan here. I'm going to do my best to give you a step-by-step in adding games to your Gamestation Go. First and foremost, please understand this method is not supported by MyArcade and Atari, and anything mentioned from this moment on is purely for testing purposes only. So how does one add games to a system when the company themselves deny the possibility? Well, it's a bit of guesswork. Fortunately, the same experience happened with the GameStation Pro, so I have a bit of experience here. One thing to notice and understand is the system is running an emulator, or emulators, that depend heavily on your file extensions. That's what this tutorial is all about mostly. So let's begin. If you're stuck at any time and need help, I'll be posting step-by-step instructions on my Patreon, as well as convenient links to important files that are needed for certain systems. If you would prefer to ask me directly, you can always find me on my Discord. Links to both are in the description below. Number 1. Purchase a micro SD card. I recommend highly that you pick up a SanDisk, but if you're a cheapo like me, I've had pretty good luck with a company named Kexon. Any size will do, but if you really want to bulk this thing up, I recommend a 128 or 256 gig. Number 2. If needed, you'll need a USB to SD converter. These can be found on Amazon pretty much anywhere. Number 3. Connect your SD to your USB to SD converter and insert it into your PC. Once connected, find your SD card and format the drive to exFAT. You can do this by right-clicking the drive and choose Format. Number 4. Click on your new SD drive and create a directory called Games. And then enter that directory. Number 5. From here you can start adding your games into this folder, but I highly recommend you make folders for each and every system you intend on using. So far I've discovered 23 separate systems. You can do this by just right-clicking and choosing Add Directory and naming them, or renaming them accordingly. You can name the directories anything you want, with the exception that we'll talk about later. So let's start with the easy ones first, and then the more complicated systems. The easy ones. Atari 2600 games will have to have the extension .A26. Atari 5200 games will have to have the extension A52. Atari 7800, A78. Atari Lynx games will have to have LNX as the file extension. Game Boy games are a .GB. Game Boy Color games are a .GBC. Game Boy Advance games are a .GBA. Neo Geo Pocket .NGP. Neo Geo Pocket Color NGC. Nintendo Entertainment System files are a .NES. Nintendo 64 games are a .N64. PC Engine games .PCE. Sega Dreamcast games are a .CHD. Sega Game Gear games are a .GG. Sega Genesis games are a .bin. Sega Master System games are a .SMS. Super Nintendo games are a .SMC. WonderSwan games .WS. WonderSwan Color games .WSC. Wherever you download these games from, they may be zipped, so be sure to uncompress them and obviously rename them and their extensions. The hard ones. MAME games are a .zip, the entire zip file. This is the one time you don't unzip the files, since MAME arcade ROMs are a ton of files that need to stay together. Leaving it zip tells your Go that it's a MAME game, so leave those alone. Atari 2600 games for the paddle are the same .A26 extension. However, you have to name the directory Atari 2600 paddle. Any A26 games you put in there will attempt to use the paddle. No other system ROMs will work there. In television games, are a .int. These won't work so well control-wise for now. But if you want to add them, make sure they have the int extension. And most importantly, you need a few BIOS files called exec bin and grom bin. You can find these on the internet. I have extra help with these on my Patreon. Once you have them, don't rename them and put them in the same directory as your int files. PlayStation games are a PBP. We have to be careful with PlayStation games and make sure they're the compressed PlayStation Portable ones that end in PBP. This does not mean you have to rename them to PBP. They have to be a PBP. When you're looking for these games, you'll find all sorts of formats to where you can convert them to PBP through tools. I won't get into that, but there are plenty of resources out there to help you out. I'll link them below. Your best bet is to find one that's already converted. Sega CD games are a .cue and a .bin together. Whenever you grab a Sega CD game off the internet, you'll almost always see a .cue and a .bin together. Keep them together. They won't work without each other. Even more complicated is that you need 3 BIOS files out there. Search for Sega CD BIOS files and you'll come up with a European one called BIOS CD.e bin, a Japanese one to be named the BIOS CD JBin, and a USA version to be named BIOS CD UBin. My Patreon helps with that also. And that's it. Now you're done. Just pop your SD into your Go and turn it on and select SD when it asks you about it. Games, if done properly, will load and the sky's the limit. Keep in mind, Dreamcast games have no sound right now, until MyArcade fixes it. And Intellivision games will have issues with controls. There's no way to change controls on this thing yet, but stay tuned. If a way is figured out, I will certainly tell you. My GameStation Go reviews show these SD games in action if you're interested. I'll provide the link below. Thanks for watching, thanks for your support. See my links if you need any help, and I'll see you next time. Happy gaming. Bye.
One night in the arcade.